Hello and welcome to the Unlocking Millions in Savings, 3 Major Finance Companies' Success with RapidCX breakout session. My name is Caroline and I will be your moderator today. I'd like to begin with some quick housekeeping items. The session is being recorded. If you need to step away, please do not use the pause button as it will unsync with your live session. Please feel free to use the Q&A tab to communicate with the presenters. We encourage you to submit questions throughout the presentation and we'll leave room at the end to answer them. You will also be given the opportunity to request a demo or more information using the chat box to the left of your screen. At the end of the session, you will be able to leave your feedback to help us improve future webinars. We, of course, encourage and appreciate all feedback. With that, let me introduce our speakers today. We have Marilyn Jessic, the Manager of the Client Engaged team at Precisely, Amy Rose, Senior Client Engagement Manager, Amy Collier, Client Engagement Manager.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, depending upon your location. Again, my name is Marilyn Jessic, and I am the manager for the Precisely Engage One Client Engagement team. Move to the next slide. Before I review the first success story, I wanted to provide a little background on this client. They are a leading financial, retirement, investment, and insurance company. As is detailed here, they have saved a significant amount of money, over 11 million, migrating to our RapidCX platform. Next slide, please. This slide shows the company's profile. We've had a relationship with this client for over 6 years, and they are one of Precisely Engage One's premier platinum clients. And as you can see, they have over 14 million customer base, have been in business for over 30 years, and their total market value is $7 billion, over $7 billion. So this next slide shares with you some of the challenges this particular client faced. And after many years of merging or acquiring with other businesses over the years, they found themselves, and I'm sure this happens often, in a predicament where they had 5 different print vendors. And of course, that was a large spend annually, 50 plus core systems, over 10,000 different template types, and many different resources across the organization, tapping into each one of them. And there was really no level of consistency. There were 5 different call centers they have, and there was no single source for those reps to be able to view or track communications when clients are calling in. And just an overall lack of consistency across the various lines of business. And ultimately, the customer experience was falling behind its competitors. So we can, yes, go ahead, you can change the solution. So when we got started, our entire team, we reviewed all of the challenges and we began to meet regularly to perform a deep dive. And through that deep dive, we analyzed and performed discovery with each line of business, hosted various scoping workshops, identified and prioritized various workshops to create a phased approach to meet their savings and optimization needs. Before I dive a little deeper into the solution, I want to mention some of their featured products and document types that this particular client has. They have statements, they have some batch system letters, on-demand letters that the call center may use, various campaigns to distribute to a large audience, and archiving documentation. And another important feature, and I'll talk about this a little bit in detail further down the line, but they have access from our portal to a content manager tool. And this provides them the ability to make changes to self-service, and they no longer have to engage IT resources. And they have the ability to create what we call resources and rules. So a resource might be adding different branding for particular clients. And a rule they might set up would be they want to send a particular letter or regulatory item to just a subset of clients, perhaps, to an audience of over 65 if it's for retirement, and or to a specific state and not to all 50 states. They're able to set up those customizations. And this particular client now, through migrating to RapidCX, they're making about 5,300 changes annually. So it's quite a bit. They're really leveraging our platform on a daily basis. And also the solution provides them the ability to have governance for regulatory and compliance. So if they want various steps to have different folks approve the communication before they go out, that all can be set up through the platform. And some of the outcomes of this solution, they're able to, we've developed consistency. No, I'm still on the previous solution slide. They've developed consistency. We developed consistency by helping them by creating a document standards guide. And we reduced the redundancy with their statements and letters, where there were, again, as I mentioned earlier, there were 10,000 different templates. So, and many, many, many duplicates. So this solution, by moving over to RapidCX, has really honed in on those duplicates, removed those, and we have that level of consistency now. And these documents are now optimized and with a much more of a modern look and feel. Some of these documents had not been touched in many, many years. So now they have a nice modern look and feel and no longer antiquated. And originally they had 5 print vendors, and we were able to help them coordinate down to a single print vendor, and also offering them something called IMB tracking, which is intelligent mail barcode tracing. And that offers when a document for viewing, for the client to be able to see when a document has been mailed and when it has actually been received by the recipient. So they have found that very, very, very helpful. So moving on, I can show you some of the benefits. As I mentioned before, about 53, enabling the business to make they can make as many changes as they want, but currently they're making about 5,300 changes per year. And that's, again, what I referred to as self-service, and via our content manager tool and regions, no longer having to put in a request for an IT resource and having to wait for that lengthy amount of time for that resource to actually be deployed. It can be done instantly. Provides them better visibility and tracking of their documents. And that's also, as I mentioned, that IMB earlier for print, but also for electronic documents. There's digital viewing for something that we offer called job tracking. And they can view that, or they can even just look, and a call center rep can go on and see, view documents that have been approved and what those documents look like, and possibly resend it to a client if they should request that. And ultimately, through the success of this migration, this client has saved over $3 million in change management savings by being able to self-service, and over 8.4 million in print savings just by doing that consolidation. So ultimately, we help them save over 11 million, almost $12 million during and post migration. And the good news is, or the exciting news, is that it doesn't end there. Since this initiative completed, we continue to pursue opportunities with this client and all of our clients. We meet on a regular basis. We review and look at potential new lines of business, or identify any gaps they might be having, and see where there may be other opportunities, possibly adding a user interface, and the ongoing pursuit of print reduction and creating more of that digital footprint, further email delivery, and honestly, possibly pursuing video in the future. And then we even got some great feedback. This is just one example from our client. And they indicated that RapidCX will allow us to meet our true north objective, which is this particular client's mission statement, where they were looking to take various platforms that have been acquired over the years, consolidate and optimize for consistency. So they have given us that feedback that we met that goal very successfully. So we're very pleased, and we have a wonderful relationship with this client. So continued success in the future. So this concludes the wrap up of my first success story. And next up is Amy Rose, who'll be sharing our second success story with one of our banking clients. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Marilyn. And good morning, good afternoon, potentially good evening, based on your location, and to those of you joining us this morning. Again, my name is Amy Rose, and I'm a client engagement manager here at Precisely. We're excited to have you here and looking forward to sharing this client use case with you to demonstrate the positive impact RapidCX has had on this client. So I'm going to start here just to kind of level set when we talk about the client use case. Kind of a headliner. This is a top 5 online bank, and they saved $6.3 million annually in change management and servicing cost. So if we look at the client profile, this client was founded in 1991, $7.76 billion in market capitalization, and 10.5 million customers. So we're talking a pretty hefty sized bank here, and they've been a partner with us for over 10 years. When we first engaged with the client, really the purpose of that was to understand their challenges. So we're going to walk through some of their challenges here that surfaced through those discussions. Primarily, I think one of the big discussion items for specific to them was the new account growth that they were experiencing. So, which is a great thing, right? We have new accounts, they're growing at a rapid pace, but the clients are having to sustain that growth, right? And so with that comes an increase in servicing cost. Through our discussions, we uncovered that the client was performing a lot of manual and costly customer support operations. So they were conducting kind of large volume of print and fulfillment in-house, whether it be on-demand communications they're generating to end users and customers, or maybe check generation to customers, and then really kind of that overarching reconciliation and auditing to kind of oversee all that manual effort. Another challenge they had, they were averaging, through our research with them and those discussions, they were averaging 140 days to implement a change to communications. And that came with a price tag of just under $4,000 in time and resources per change. So, costly and time consuming. The client was also found themselves generating over 14,000 letters and checks on a monthly basis. And that was, being supported manually behind the scenes by back office. And that was translating to roughly $7 per instance. And so when you've got that volume coupled with that price tag, it's going to be a costly event. And the last point to note is the client did not have the ability to generate tax forms electronically. So it was costing them just under $500,000 to print and send those tax forms out on an annual basis. So now we'd like to talk about some of the solutions that RapidCX brought to the challenges and the frustration that the client was experiencing. So with the implementation of RapidCX, this client, first and foremost, now they had all communications housed within the RapidCX platform, and that's where changes could be made and managed by non-technical business users. So instead of the 140 days it might take in their prior state without RapidCX, now, non-technical business users could go out there, make the content changes, typically 1 to 4 days to get approval and get those deployed into production. So a much more expeditious process. RapidCX also allowed, with the new account growth and the large volume of welcome kits and tax forms, RapidCX brought the capability to send those electronically, which is a huge cost savings to the client. It also allowed for the client to automate those back office manual fulfillment of those letters and checks. So instead of an individual or a team of individuals sitting there printing, stuffing, and mailing letters and checks and communications to customers, that process was allowed to be automated with the RapidCX platform. This is a big one that I like to highlight here. And the beauty of RapidCX is making communications easily accessible to customer support. So this particular client had over 1,700 users, or customer service agents, if you want to think about it that way. And I know from my own personal experience, potentially I get a communication and I've got a question. So I'm going to make an outbound call to that company. And there's nothing more frustrating than having a conversation with a representative that has no idea what your communication looks like. They can't reference it, and they're trying to triage and help you resolve your issue. And that's a frustration for a customer experience. But with RapidCX, these customer service individuals were allowed to access real time those communications. So via API. So when the customer called in with a question about their actual communication, the agent's able to view it alongside of them. And so that eliminates that frustration point from a customer experience perspective, but it also ultimately reduces call time, which is a cost savings to the client. And then the last item I'd highlight here is the ability for RapidCX to expose or present data, right? And so incorporating that into communications allows for personalization. So maybe communications don't say dear customer, maybe it says dear Amy now, or includes data specific to my account. And obviously within the banking industry, that's a huge value. It also allows for preference. So if I say, hey, I don't want print, I want electronic, RapidCX brought those capabilities to this client that they could offer to their customer experience. And so moving forward, we'll highlight just kind of a summary of the benefits that RapidCX brought. I think significantly improving customer personalization and preference flexibility from the start to the end of the customer journey. So from the customer communication generating to the method of transmission, whether it be electronic or if there are still some that like old school and prefer the print, we can accommodate that as well. But even if they had to make an outbound call to that agent and the capability of that agent to kind of counsel and walk them through their questions and the capability to be able to view that communication alongside of the customer, I think goes a long way in improving customer experience. It also gave the client the ability to self-manage, track, and record over 1,200 changes across 30 million communications per year. And just that number alone, that 1,200 changes, I mean, if you think back to that original challenge slide that we shared with this client about this client, and it was taking on average 140 days under their old kind of state to implement changes. And we know that, all verticals, whether it be banking, mortgage, whatever the vertical, there's a constant of evolution for communications. And banking, being a highly regulated industry, probably sees a lot of additional regulatory changes and required changes to communications that are on a constant. So, they do experience a lot of changes, and the ability for RapidCX to help support that goes a long way with the client. And this translates really, if we look at the annual savings, so the ability, to manage and implement those changes via the RapidCX platform in a timely fashion saved them $2.9 million. Implementing electronic delivery. We knew just from that original challenge slide that it was taken just under $500,000 to print tax forms. And so they netted $2.2 million in savings just from implementing e-delivery. And then last but not least, $1.2 million associated with those back office servicing costs. And so together, that represented a total annual savings to the client of $6.3 million. And so to close, I'd like to leave you with a quote from the client. It's one of the executives at the bank that we're showcasing here. I can't believe Precisely's capabilities exist. When we have to make a change to a communication from our internal platform, it takes months. It's not nearly as easy. And to me, that reemphasizes the role of RapidCX and the benefits it brings. It brings ease. It brings flexibility. to clients and to the ability to and capabilities that they have to manage the content of communications. It allows for significant cost savings and cost efficiencies, which contribute to the overall success of the client. And one final note I'll leave you with, and this is just my personal stance on Precisely and the RapidCX platform. When we implement a client and we bring them on and we stand them up on the platform, we're more than just a technology or software company. We're going to continue to be there and support them in an ongoing state. So once a client does join our platform, we provide that ongoing support, education, and partnership. And this really helps them continue to be successful in their role. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of my peers, Annie Collier, for the next client case study.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Amy. My name is Annie Collier, and I am a client engagement manager here at Precisely. I'm here to talk to you all today about how we helped our auto finance customer, who's one of the top 15 finance companies, save nearly $7.2 million through operational efficiency and accelerating its core conversion. So to kick us off, I'm going to start with a little intro to who this client is. They're the largest used national auto reseller across the United States. They came on to the scene in 1993 and claimed to have reinvented the used car lending space. Their business includes delivering cars to homes for those of you that prefer to purchase your car on the internet. But for those of you like me who prefer to car shop in person, their biggest advantage is going to one of their 230 brick and mortar stores across the country. They are the in-house lender for their own auto dealership brand and the 6th largest lender in the auto finance space. They finance 43% of all customers purchasing cars from one of their dealerships. And as you can see, in 2022, they sold 1.4 million vehicles. This means roughly 1 in every 2 of those vehicles is financed through their customer experience. They've defined their customer experience as starting from the presentation of finance to and through the return of the title at the end of that payoff, which takes an average of 5 years per customer. They knew they needed to create a better experience for the customer in that 5-year relationship, and so that is what they did. But what were some of their challenges? So 6 years ago, they kicked off an internal core modernization, replacing 2 financial support systems. Initially, it was going to take on their communications as well. 4 years into the project, it was determined that the complexity and volume of their communications was too much for this new core system, which is when Precisely came onto the scene and saw these challenges and complexities firsthand. This auto finance client sends 18 million documents and 12 million emails per month, to give you an idea of volume. 99% of those communications are legally required or collections-based, meaning they're highly regulated, state by state, rule-based, and some require signature receipt from the customer. The complexity and risk on these communications is significant, but a lot of what they were doing was very manual, leaving opportunity for human error. Most letters were stored and created as Word documents on desktops of associates across the organization, many of which were printed and mailed right there from the associate's own personal computer in their office. They would find the letter in a folder, and if your desktop looks at mine, that alone could take some time, but they would edit the Word document, enter the data, and print two copies of that letter, and they would walk one to the mailroom, and the other copy they would walk to the archival department so it could be filed against the customer's account. So this was obviously a pre-pandemic work from office use case, but it wasn't efficient. Their communications were decentralized across 23 different departments in their organization. In our initial discovery, we found several duplications across departments. There were communications to customers that were going out without consistent branding, some with black and white logos or older versions of company logos. There's large, awkward blank spaces on their statements and letters, and for a brand as reputable and as large as this one, they knew that this was not a good look. This new core couldn't produce the data to support the desired customer experience. For example, the XML was created at the individual level, not at the account level, so buyer and co-buyer statements of the same account would be mailed to the same household. The new core couldn't handle calculations, some as simple as including the late fees in their amount due. But they also had a lot more complex calculations that couldn't be defined in this core, which would have also meant the client would not have access to these amounts on their end should a customer call and inquire. There were free form fields that their customers would enter information into, but they had no way to cleanse bad characters, causing failures on the print side. And there were account alerts with business use cases to suppress letters or statements from being sent to the customer. For example, if an attorney was present on the account or if an account was flagged as fraud. And this core's limited experience in digital transformation prevented our auto finance client from taking their customer servicing communications to the next level. Changes took 2 months, required several iterations, stakeholders had to get involved, and there was really no dedicated resources to manage these 2-month-long efforts of a simple change. Associates manually filter through SMS responses for phrases like add to opt-out list or please stop texting me in order to opt them out manually from receiving text messages. They had no way of knowing whether emails had bounced, a customer had unsubscribed or opted out, and no marketing within their letters or statements to drive new business. And they had no way to personalize messages or add on their letters or statements to target specific customer audiences. So what were our solutions to these challenges? So RapidCX provided them with a single archival instance for all communications on our CCM platform, which include online access by their customers and agents, delivery tracking for physical deliveries, which means IMB tracking and UPS tracking, allowing agents to track the actual documents delivery to the door of the end customer. We offer them delivery tracking for email delivery so they can see when a customer opened their email or if an email bounced or failed. And if the email failed, we can automatically send it over to print, which is very important for them for communications that are 100% compliance to ensure delivery. We allow them click tracking of links within their emails. So for example, they have a payment reminder email that they can track how many people actually clicked the make a payment link. And more importantly, of those that clicked, how many actually made a payment. Email click tracking has helped them identify different language in the URL or ways to direct customer attention to have better performance on certain click actions. And with the help of our dedicated team, we eliminated the duplicates I mentioned in the challenges and found opportunities to digitize some of those communications that were originally printed and mailed. We met with all 23 different departments to create a full communications inventory, which were previously very siloed. At that time, one of their stakeholders was quoted saying that this was the very first time that anyone in their organization had seen all their communications in one place. In one example, we consolidated 425 different Word document versions from the associates of desktops into a single template in some cases. We let the data drive the business rules that fire in and out those individual paragraphs specific to the customer. This allows them personalized, targeted messages and ads to fire in unused spaces of their statements and letters. So for example, is the customer e-registered? Let's get them to enroll. Or is that customer getting a mailed statement every month? Let's drive them to go paperless. So all that being said, how did this benefit our client? We helped reduce their print and mail cost by electronically householding buyer and co-buyer communications delivered to the same household. So this means the customer would receive one copy with a document addressed to both the buyer and co-buyer at that household. And that's just one way we help them save money on the print side. But our client has over 600 users that are in the CCM platform daily, whether on the phone with a customer, answering questions about their communications, or self-managing changes to one of their 500 plus templates. The cost savings on changes that previously took 2 or more months can be completed in a matter of minutes. And with the ability to self-service so quickly, they're able to keep their customers informed about their impact to new policies or changing market conditions. with version control and governance of those changes to that communication all tracked in the same platform. So we continue to help them grow and solve challenges on a daily basis, but this is obviously just how it all started. And you don't have to take it from me, but on the next slide, I think we have a quote from their CFO stating, "I started out thinking there is no way we can complete this core modernization and deploy RapidCX. Now I'm convinced there is no way we could have completed this core migration without them. Our capability has allowed them to retire 5 separate communication systems and shave 2 years off their core migration, saving millions of dollars in just implementation costs." And again, from their direct quote from their CFO. So I think that's all I had on mine. So before I hand it over to Caroline, I think we're opening up for Q&A.
Thank you, Annie, Amy, and Marilyn. That was fantastic. Yeah, I'd like to open up the room for questions. Remember, you can use the Q&A tab to communicate with our presenters today. So let's see if we have any questions. We have a couple. You mentioned the discovery process. Is that part of every implementation?
Yeah, and I can jump on that one. So yes, the discovery process, that is a key initial component of the engagement between a RapidCX and a potential client. And the purpose behind that is really to get in there and understand the client's current challenges, their current state of affairs, points of frustration, and then RapidCX, the team will take that back, assess those challenges, and figure out the solutions that RapidCX can bring to the table to resolve and eliminate those challenges and frustrating points. Good question.
Great. It looks like we have another one. Second question. There was discussion around a content manager tool for self-service purposes. Can anyone on the business side have access to the portal to make changes?
I will take this one. That is a good question. So ultimately, it's the business decision as to who should have access, but precisely we offer a variety of user roles with the ability for some to have view-only access and others with the ability to edit. So we can customize and work that out per the client's ask. Hopefully that helped answer that.
Okay, thank you, Marilyn. That looks like our last question. I'd like to thank you all for attending today's session. Before we conclude, I'd like to go over a few important points. If you'd like to explore more about the power of RapidCX, we encourage you to dive into the content we have available or request a demo with Precisely experts using the chatbot to the left of your screen. We value each and one of your feedback, so please feel free to leave your thoughts after this session. Thank you once again for attending and your time, and we look forward to connecting with you all soon.